The intention for our practice today is my favorite sticker. This one reads, "Practice makes practice." When I was in grad school, one of the things that um, really spoke to me and I found very inspiring was that the more answers I discovered from the questions I had, the more questions I had. And so it's so analogous to the practice. The more we practice, the more aware we become of aspects of the practice, of how we can apply the practice. So it really becomes this limitless experience and opportunity. And for me anyway, it's been a whole lot of fun, even the difficult stuff. I'd like to invite everyone to arrive fully to this practice and allow the body to settle. Turn the gaze inward. Allow the day, the experiences, the stories, the interactions, the stressors, see if you can imagine them hitching a ride on a drop of water cascading down a duck's back. Let it just melt so that all that's left is a comfortable presence. Gently bring your attention to the breath. And allow some space in the mind to acknowledge that in this moment, not only are we breathing together as a community, but we're breathing with all of life. The trees outside and the way they breathe, all of the plants and bugs and animals, the way objects that look solid on an atomic level, a particle level, are moving energetically, breathing, dare I say. So when we breathe, it is an awareness that we are connecting to all of life, what life was, what life is, and what life is yet to be. When we breathe, when we connect, we tap into belonging. And in honor of our beloved facilitator, Marty, who has been so devoted in his service to this community for years and years, let's collectively breathe, just breathe with him. And for anyone who came late to the party, Marty's fine. His work schedule has just shifted a little bit. So nothing to worry about, but we're just breathing with him. As we explore this concept of trust and betrayal, one of the things that I've done intentionally is I've created a framework of duality. Trust, and we typically judge that to be positive, and betrayal, and we assign judgment to that as being negative. And the neutral aspect of this dualism is the fact that we can't learn anything about trust in the absence of betrayal. And in the absence of trust, we chronically feel betrayed. The two are opposing sides to one whole experience, one whole truth. And that truth itself is neutral. And so what I am endeavoring to do is inspire your own wisdom to break out of this dualistic paradigm. There's some legitimacy to it, and it's worth looking at, but I just don't want you to stay rigid to it. So for example, I've taken the concept of trust, and in this week's sessions, we're going to look at an aspect of trust that is honesty. And when we think about honesty, we think honesty is good, positive. And its opposite, its negative version, its darker side, is omission. However, within honesty, there are positive and negative qualities. And with omission, there are positive and negative qualities. And each of those qualities has positive and negative attributes. And each of those attributes has positive and negative elements, and so on, and so on, and so on. And this is what we gain with analytical meditation or vipassana meditation, even just deep looking. Instead of quickly assigning and quickly reacting, I'm not being honest and therefore I'm bad. Or I'm engaging in omission, a form of dishonesty, and therefore I'm bad. Or I'm so honest, I'm amazing and so good. And this is about a practice that offers a little bit of neutrality, because each of us as whole human beings has the capacity to be honest and dishonest, honest and omitting. Each of us has the capacity to be trusting and full of trust, as well as betraying. Last week we talked about the cultivation of trustworthiness and recognizing all the ways we engage in deceit. It's both. Always both. There is one way, however, that is less effective than the other way. And so that's what we're going to be exploring this week. And today, all I want to offer you are some of the qualities of honesty and omission as it is alive in me. This is not an exhaustive offering, and I'm by no means an expert. This is just what has been inspired in me. And let these words and let these thoughts stir your wisdom so that you can teach me and everyone else here in community. So we'll begin with honesty, and we're going to look at some of the positive qualities and some of the negative qualities of honesty. A positive quality of honesty is self-confidence. You will notice in your experience that when you feel solid and confident, you will risk being honest. It won't seem so threatening. The shadowed side of honesty as it relates to self-confidence is arrogance. Tough love. I'm just telling it to you straight. I don't have to think about what I'm saying. I'm just being honest. Yikes. Okay. Could be true. May not be the whole truth. So let's look at self-confidence. And self-confidence has positive and negative attributes. One of the positive aspects of self-confidence is humility, and its shadow is doubt. And these two are constantly at play within us. This dualism lives within us, and they are teachers that are constantly creating the conditions for wisdom. Likewise, when we look at arrogance, arrogance has positive qualities to it and attributes and negative attributes. One of the positive attributes of arrogance is solidity. Somebody who's being honest, somebody who's motivated by a little bit of arrogance will probably be pretty solid. Yeah, sorry that hurts your feelings. You might want to go look at that. And there might just be a tinge of arrogance there. Who knows? Worth exploring. The shadow aspect of arrogance is non-discernment. This is somebody whose tough love hasn't really been thought through. And this is where arrogance can be harming, deeply harming. It doesn't feel like an invitation to go look at my stuff when somebody's telling it to me straight. It feels like they're trying to inflict a little injury. All of this is at play in the concept of honesty. So honesty isn't so simple. It's layered and complex. So is the capacity for omission. Leaving stuff out. Not telling the whole truth. Not being super clear. Maybe exaggerating. Maybe being a little vague. There are positive qualities to this. There are good reasons for this. And there are dark sides to this as well. Sometimes when we're omitting, one of the positive aspects of this, positive qualities, is discernment. We're reading the room. Maybe we are omitting some personal details because the person who we're sharing with doesn't have the capacity to hear, doesn't have the capacity to hold the vulnerability, doesn't really deserve hearing this, so we don't tell them the whole story of us. We omit that information. Maybe we're discerning that this often happens with kids. You don't tell them everything because they're not of the age to actually be able to process it. So you're discerning in your omission. It may feel like a lie. That's why you have to be discerning about it. The negative aspect of omission why we don't share, even when the conditions are trustworthy. The quality that came alive for me is scarcity, not enoughness, and all the ways that manifests within me. Within discernment, there are positive and negative aspects to being discerning. One of the positive aspects of discernment is one's ability to cultivate and have boundaries. Its negative aspect, rigidity. I get really tight about the way things need to be. With respect to scarcity, the positive and negative aspects of scarcity, and just take that in for a moment. There are positive and negative aspects to it. One of the positive aspects for scarcity, for me, is an invitation to simplify. When I am in a mind posture of not being enough, not having enough, I automatically go to practices of simplicity. And then I realize just how abundant my life is. Scarcity teaches me that every single time. If, however, I'm in a scarcity mind and I'm feeling negative in my communications and I'm not wanting to share the whole truth, for me, almost always, it's motivated by fear. And you can appreciate that even within the element of fear, there are positive and negative aspects. You can just go on and on and on. It's a lot to take in. That's why we're going to unpack it this week. I just wanted to give you the bare bones. Honesty and omission. There's confidence involved. Arrogance. Humility. Doubt. Solidity. Non-discernment. In omission, there's discernment and scarcity. There are boundaries and rigidity. There's solidity and fear. Wow, it's a lot. It's amazing. We're so complex and it's highly personal. And I bring that forward because it's highly complex for me and deeply personal for me, as it is for each of you, as it is for every single person you encounter. And so it's not just about a person not being honest with me. They lied to me. Ooh. That's only on the surface. Can you take a moment and just peel back one layer? What's there? Can you take a moment and peel back another layer? What's there? And at the end of the day, can you draw a conclusion that somebody has lied? They've been engaging in omission, for example, because they're a whole human being who is suffering. And how can your practice of honesty bring them toward the light of confidence humility, safety. It's a practice, and it begins with each of us. And we'll end with a dedication of merit. If you've ever been around a lake, to really appreciate its depth and richness, it has to be still. And if we can take that image into ourselves, only when we can be still can we begin to understand the depth and richness that defines the whole of each of us and everyone else. All the conditions that are happening out there are also happening within. May we endeavor and practice to find that stillness. And may the smallest effort bring the greatest relief. Thank you for your beautiful practice, and thank you for always being such an impeccable, trustworthy source of inspiration to me. Have a wonderful evening, friends. We'll see you tomorrow. Namaste.